Hello, everybody. If all's going well, you should see our smiling faces. With us today is Emil Nordic Gustafsson. You folks will recognize Nordic from being around for freaking ever. Um, but, if anybody is having any audio problems, let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to
Yep.
kick you over to Nordic to let him kind of introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what he does on Squad.
Hi. My name is Nordic, or Emil Gustafsson is my real name, and currently I have a hybrid role. I am first and foremost the system administrator for Artful, so I do all the IT things, and all of that boring stuff. And then I have some roles in the community experience team with running our tournaments, in charge of server licensing, and just really about whatever marketing or our daddy Ross throws at me. I'm a jack of all trades in many senses.
Yeah, and that's certainly true, and that's sort of why we have brought you onto OWI, which a lot of people may not know that you're actually from the community in general, especially people that are just joining us for the first time. Can you give us a little bit of your background about how you got to Squad?
Yeah, I started playing just when it released on Steam, which was December 2015. And I quickly I've always been the kind of person that plays one game only and one game always. And it started out with Counter Strike, and then and then I played a lot of Dota, Dota and Dota 2. And then I stopped playing Dota and I switched to Squad. And those kind of the three games I've always played, along with the single player games here. And when I do something, I do it very much. Hence a lot of 1,000 hours. I think Ryan, our CFO, counted that I've been playing Squad for like 6 months straight, um, in a little over 4 years, or a little less than 4 years, which is not very healthy. I don't recommend it. But yeah, and from that, in October 2016, I was brought on the QA team. Part of because Carm, who at that part became the QA lead, was part of Mumblereens, my clan that I started in May 2016, if we want to do dates. And after that, I just kind of progressed. First, it was just voluntary work, and then a few years down the line, maybe 1.5 ish, it turned into a part-time position. And then recently, as of 1st of June, I started full time. As the system administrator. I came on as the SysAdmin in January, but then it was just part time. Yeah, that's my history.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us up to a question somebody had in chat: is what exactly can we ask the system administrator? So, what is your day to day? What do you do for OWI now? Tell us a little bit about how you kind of evolved into your role, especially as an event coordinator.
Yeah, it started off by Offworld being on AVS, and because of the sheer amount of servers and the type of stuff the servers do, just in terms of storage and whatnot, AVS is very expensive. So it started off as a project in which we took it down from AVS and moved it in-house. So we have all our data and servers, except websites, in the Vancouver office. So I've set up all that, not by myself, we're a team, but yeah, I had a leading part in that together with Norby and MD. And then my daily routines today is just maintaining that. So it's everything from fixing any servers going down, and hopefully, if I do my job well, that's a small part of my job, the regular updates and whatnot, and then scaling for future and building for future. So right now we're kind of focusing on maybe or skipping Perforce. We are planning to go from G Suite or Google Suite, like email and G Drive and all that, to and Slack to Microsoft Stack, so Microsoft Office and Teams for those who care, and a lot of things like that that goes on behind the curtains. Squad is or Offworld is a fairly technical demanding company. We build the game every second hours. So we have a lot of high performance servers and just trying to stay on top with state of the art and make sure the time from developer fixes bug, QA gets the build on Steam, tries it to release, gets as fast as possible. So that's a lot of my work. And now, once we have a stable environment, a lot of it will go into something called DevOps, which will be basically helping developers make the game. So my mantra for IT has always been that I myself is useless. I don't bring in any money because no one is paying us for servers. So every hour I put in has to create 2 hours somewhere else. That's when IT is useful, and that's what I try to do. Whether that is automating boring tasks, such as QA servers, updating those, or if it's making builds go faster. When we started, the builds took 4 hours, one build, and now they take about 1.5, one. So that's obviously a lot of time saved there. Yeah, that's kind of the things I do.
Yeah, and that
And yeah,
also expands to all of OWI's partners and stuff too. So like when we're supporting people like Postscriptum in the past, and like these are systems that are replicable to anybody that wants to work with OWI in the future too. So as we expand into
yep.
OWI Core, which is our primary technology, it's stuff like that that helps power games like ours and others, and the modding community and things like that. I do want to bring it back to more directly about Squad. As somebody that has literally 6 months consistently played, can you kind of pitch how to become a better squad player to somebody that's just starting up, somebody in their first 20 hours?
First 20 hours. Focus on one role and not try to do everything at once. And um, quickly trying to look into the having a good overview on the map, trying to always use the map to see where your enemies, where your friendlies are, and where they're looking, because that will give you a good direction of where the enemies is. Because the number one complaint or problem or whatever you want to call it, new players have, is that they're getting shot from somewhere and they have no idea where they killed from. While other games may solve that with hit markers and whatnot, Squad has very good positional sound, and then the whole idea is not to tell you that. And that would be my best thing, to always try to keep the enemy in front of you, and keep as much control of the front of you as possible, and use the terrain to don't leave your right side open so they can shoot you in the side. Then you're gonna have an easier time. And the number one thing I try to tell players is soldiers in squad enemies are very small. Usually they're at a distance 75 to 100 meters, and because of the sheer size of the map, that's quite long. So I try to tell people, instead of looking left and right, keep your eyes fixed and move forward, because then the image will be pretty still and human eyes pick up movement as anomalies, and you will basically automatically focus on something moving, which is usually an enemy, and then it will help you see. But if you're constantly looking left and right, that little head or upper body that's moving in 75 meters or just popped up behind a rock, you're not going to notice it. So keep your sight still while you move, and don't go looking left and right, left and right. Pick a direction, move that direction, and just look. And your peripheral vision will keep, will find the enemies. Once you start finding enemies, then you can worry about strategy and all that. At the beginning, learn the game mode, which one of the 4 or 5 there are, and learn the objective and keep to the objective. Listen to the squad leader and basically just, if he says, "All right, we're gonna sit there and defend," you sit there and defend. If you attack, you do that, and then just, don't try to do it all at once. Keep it very simple, because it takes a long time to learn squad and a lot of variables. And after being away for a few months now, there's still things I don't know. I had to ask in my last match, how many hats does it take to kill a tank, for example, because these keeps changing, and there's a lot of stuff in squad.
Oh, yeah, that's actually kind of a good segue. You've played 5,000 hours, and you've just mentioned that like things have really changed. What do you think in squad has kind of come the furthest? What have you seen change the most since 5,000 hours ago?
Oh, I think vehicle play is the major one thing. Vehicle play. If we obviously, if we ignore the fact that in the beginning, for those that didn't play, match it would start out. Well, let's take Fool's Road because the map everyone know. There was a ball. Russians would spawn in the southeast corner, and the militia would spawn in the northeast, northwest. Fuck, I don't remember. One of the corners, and the middle objective. Or there was 4 flags, I think, and the militia would always go to the third flag, so to speak, the first Russian enemy flag, and the Russians would always go to Fortress, the top northwest, which was the second militia one, And somewhere in the middle of the map, you would meet. You knew that everyone was running from the main base because there were no spawn points and no vehicles. Everyone has to run from the main base at the beginning. So everyone would be running, and you knew that you were gonna meet at some point. And it's a very exciting way to play squad. Nowadays, it's more figured out. There's usually the fastest route with vehicles, and it's more about, okay, what can we do to throw people off? Okay, they usually come from this side, so if we attack from this side, we should go behind them and stuff like that. So vehicle play and pure transportation and map movements, I think, are the biggest changes. And in terms of just along the line, vehicle play from version 7 to what it is today, night and day. Back then, vehicles were very fragile, and they were like maybe killing a few people. And today, you can have. It's not unusual to see a good tank or IFV crew go 60 kills in a match.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
that's
been really exciting to
very
kind of
interesting.
see the combined arms aspect of the game come together, especially within the last couple months. We've seen some really amazing like videos and stuff of people moving behind their tanks, kind of flanking and using that cover, and especially we've seen choppers kind of come in. And that's something I want to
Yep.
touch on is like from a gameplay perspective, how are you coping with choppers? Like you've played squads so much without them. How are they changing your game up now?
I've actually only played like 2 or 3 matches, and that includes one practice scrim team match with choppers. But overall, I'd say that it allows a lot more flanking and changes like scouting a lot before you getting around the map or whatnot could be a 5 minute drive on cohort, and then you could set up a fob, and then you could open a second flank if your first one failed with shoppers. You can quickly turn the tide just because how spawning works. If you get a fob up there, and sort of with body rally as well, but mostly with spawns, if you get a fob on the opposite side of the flag, you can shift an entire team so fast. Or even with pure transportation, let's say you take over the enemy flag, you happen to have a helicopter there, you can get so quickly to the next flag that the enemies might not even have defended. So it speeds up the game a lot, but it also obviously allows for counter movements for the defenders. So it speeds up what you can do, but it also challenges you in the terms that you will be able to respond to movements much quicker. And I think that's going to take a while for people to learn that it will be very useful to have shoppers close, maybe even like landed near the flag you're contesting, and then once you take it over, you immediately send a squad to the next one because they're so freaking fast. That I think will be the main change in squad. That it will be faster paced in terms of movement between flags.
And definitely from super fob to super fob.
Yeah, exactly.
You can ask questions. Lori is thrown with you. Feel free to ask questions about kind of squad in general. Nordic has a lot of experience there. Kind of the way I mean, we're kind of going through a little bit of his background on some of an outline. If you hear anything
Yep.
you want to ask questions about, just feel free to hop in and let us know. Um, yeah, so we talked about how squad is changing. You definitely have a perspective of somebody that's been on both sides of the public game and the competitive game. I'm kind of curious, how do you
Mhm.
see those differ, and how do you get somebody to make that jump? If somebody's interested in playing competitively, how do they go about getting that?
Um, First and foremost, the main difference between competitive and squad players or public players is that competitive is a much better version of squad purely because everyone is working together. And in public, you always have, okay, squad one wants to do a dumbass techie bum rush because that's fun, and they have been playing very serious for 3 matches, while a squad two wants to play super serious and win, and squad three wants to, uh, I don't know, do whatever. And in competitive matches or events in general, there are communities like Squad Ups that do One Life that does this exact the same. It doesn't need to be pure competitive, but organized squad rather. It's the most best form because squad turns into a 50 times better game when everyone in the team working together, and when you know you can literally talk to everyone and you can ask something and you know you'll get a response because they're willing to help. Whereas unfortunately in public play, you might have an APC close and you might ask, "Yo, can you drive us to the other flag or whatever, or we're behind, or can you come back and pick us up?" You name it. They'll be like, "No, I'm gonna go and shoot people from this big ass hill and mess you and just loll around." So that's why I kind of don't like in public play is that the teamwork level is so different. In terms of getting into competitive play or organized play in general, but competitive we can focus on is first if you have a clan, you should sign up to tournament or just go in. There scrim channels in the squad general communities can ask for a practice match, and those are usually you decide a time and place being a server, and map with another team, and you guys decide how many people you play, whether it's 12 versus 12 or 25 versus 25, or as I think as many people as possible is fun, more fun. So it's 36 versus 36, and you go on a server and you smash each other. That's the primary thing. If you don't have a team, looking into joining those, and the most easiest way to do that is just nearly every clan has a server, and so you'd go on that server, you try to play with them. They usually broadcast their Discord or whatever they use as a gathering. Some use forums, but most use Discord these days. You can go on there and talk to the leaders, just hang out with them, and get to know them, kind of thing. In my experience, a lot of public players usually come to the same server. They find one that fits them, whether it's the rules, whether they start learning, they start recognizing people. 'Cause again, the other guys that comes back will usually be the same and whatnot, and a lot of people have the same work schedules. I'd be always be on at 18 my time, and that's when the guys that are now my clanmates would get on, and you start to know people, and that's kind of cool. Squad is a very social game, and I definitely think everyone should turn out or should try organized squad. Whether that's just organized matches between 60 individuals just to get better matches, or it's full on competitive, or it's one life events, or hey self plug in track attack from or the vehicle tournament off world, whatever. But try it because it when everyone works together in the team and everyone has the same plan, that's when squad is fantastic.
Yeah, and even if you're not interested in organized play, getting involved in the community does make a way to get a lot more out of squad. You might have casual groups, you might just have somebody to kind of talk about squad with, which, if you live in a small town where there's not a lot of other players, it's a great opportunity to actually kind of, work that out of your system without sounding crazy when you're talking about worshipping the spear. Um, so yeah, like we have forums. There is a clan director in the forum. We encourage people to maintain their information there. We have a Discord server which is open to the public. That's discord.gg/squad. We also have there's an R squad up on Reddit for people to look for clans and groups that way. As Nordic mentioned, we have fantastic communities like Squad Ops. They're available at squadops.gg. There's the Squad Community Cup. There's endless amounts of communities doing really cool stuff. There's RIP Fridays where they have everybody to come off and face against their clan, which is a really kind of an interesting way to see if you want to fight against the clan. You can kind of jump in, jump out, see what happens. So yeah, there's tons and tons of opportunities to get involved if you want to. Just kind of you just step up, get involved. People are friendly. Talk to your squad leader, see if they have a clan tag on. It's a good way to play, and you might make some friends. It's certainly something that I, as a community manager, would promote. Um, there was a question in the chat, which was maybe a little bit sarcastic, but Sifex wanted to know what we're doing about um, respawn TKing, and I feel like this is a good opportunity to kind of talk about how we work with server administrators and how that kind of side of squad works, because a lot of people aren't
R-
exposed. Uh,
Respawn what?
Respawn team killers, people that are like,
Oh,
so
respawn
yeah,
TV. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which there might not be a mechanic to address that directly, but I do want to kind of talk about how we have a community of server owners that do work together, and you've been instrumental in kind of creating that.
Yeah, we I recognize it. As I said, I started a squad server in May 2016, and it's been running since then. And usually, it's been seeded nearly every single day. I think we have the policy that if intentional team killing is permaban, then we have something like 3,500 of those banned or something. And it's definitely a problem. It's very game ruining, and it's not a secret that server admin tools has not been a priority for reasons everyone understands. So we don't have the we have the automated. If you kill 7 people, you get automatically banned. But killing 7 people is still you ruin the game for 7 people. And if you also blew up a vehicle or something, you kind of fucked up people's day. If I may drop an f bomb. Um, we are looking into all the sorts of things with AI and those sort of things. But at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to being the game squad is. There's gonna have to be server admins on the server, and you can deal with them swiftly. We've added such things as you can't shoot in main base anymore. Previously, for those who didn't know, you could spawn in and literally shoot as many people as you could in main base and team came live. Now you can't do that. You're invulnerable in the main base. Um, but I find it hard to believe that Squad will never not need admins. And the way we've done that is we did a license under overhaul this summer, where we started enforcing more admins to have a license for your server. So we were requiring at least 10, which is still a quite low number. I like to again use my own server as an example. We used to have 50 members of some that played squad a lot, and we had about 15 or 20 community admins. So in all, we had 70 admins, full admin rights on our server, and we still, from 6 to 11 Central European time, had moments when there was no admin on the server, usually around 21 or later, because people's day and whatnot. And then things would occur. So if you have even less admin, let's say 10 or 20, there's going to be more times of that. And just trying to get as good of a reporting system, which is finally Archon and Chat is exposed, so people have been building their own tools, and then really building tools to report players and get that is one thing. And we recently adopted a strategy that repeat offenders on multiple servers will get game-wide bans, temporary to start, and if you keep being an asshole, there will be a point where Ross and you, Greg, gets enough, and we're gonna say, "Cool, you don't get to play our game anymore." So we're working on it, but it's not a very easy problem to solve, to say the least.
Yeah, no, there are no simple answers for a lot of these things. But then there's a reason we're trying to maintain this active relationship with the server hosting community and modders as well, and that's something that we strive to do with like things like roundtables and feedback sessions. These are things that we want to keep hearing from you on, and we know we can improve. Like we're not perfect. We are a small game studio that's learning a lot as we build a game, and we really appreciate your help as we kind of grow and learn with that. So yeah, it's certainly it's a challenge. It's something that we're going to continue to evolve, and we appreciate as we get more specificity in that, and we figure out what it means to kind of uphold the integrity of the community, especially as we get more into a live ops mode. It's going to be our first time going into a live game where we're supporting that, so it's going to be a neat
Yep.
and interesting journey. There might be some ups and downs, but yeah, it's something that we're certainly improving our internal processes on. Just for people that are kind of new to this, can you kind of outline what the difference is between a custom server and a licensed server is at the moment?
Yeah. There's for everyone starter squad, you'll see server browser and you'll see custom browser. And in the server browser you'll see server that are so-called licensed. License is a simple key that you put in your server and suddenly you get put in the server browser. And the server browser is what most people go to. And to get a licensed server, we enforce that you need to have equipped with hardware, so the server does not run in poor tick rate, which will cause VoIP cutting out, severe hit reg issues, grenades dropping at the floor, vehicles being undrivable, etc. And we force a certain level of rule set that you need to apply to. So you need to be friendly to new players. You can't lock content behind paywalls, such as team switching or vehicle driving or whatever, and other, like, you need to behave yourself in professional manner. Don't be a dickhead. Be a good representation of the server. That does not come to say that you can't change your server into profiling. Like, again, on my own server, we used to force two manning on vehicles, so you couldn't drive a BTR unless you didn't have two people in it. And again, with the permanent ban on team killing. Well, so I try to give servers the way of profiling their servers, because some people will ban rushing, for example, which was very controversial at its time, but a lot of people enjoy that, and that's cool. And what we try to always say was, if your problem is that you're so upset that you can't rush, you're cool to play on another server that allows it. So with licensing is, this server is good enough as a representation of Squad. We think the community behind it is a good community, and they have the adequate infrastructure to host it, and that's it. It is not forcing the game as Offworld says. Okay, this is how you're going to play it. And when whitelisting mods comes in there, it's a don't know if it's decided yet, but as far as I've heard, it's going to be mods that are full conversion mods. So when Squad Mario Kart comes in, I'm gonna sink my 6 months into that. Did I lose you, Greg?
Nope, I was just responding
Oh,
to some of the questions about chat. Yeah, if there's people complaining about hit reg issues. If you have replicatable data, if you have video of that, feel free to get it to us. The feedback channel is good.
yeah.
We can get it in the hands of QA.
I'll I'll be happy to mention that I've had a lot of hit reg videos sent to me over the years, and 99%, if not more, are when you slow them down, there's not a hit reg issue. There's the cases of delayed death, as I call it. Yeah, there can be cases when you shoot someone in the head and it takes a full second for them to die, and you will trade. I think everyone has seen trading in Squad, absolutely. Uh, but pure hit reg issues, it's not as widespread as people want it to be. Uh, Put on your self-criticism glasses and really look at it, and you'll see that most shots, because of how this soldier holds the weapon, will land at your arms, and it will take up to 3 or 4 shots to kill someone holding a weapon. But I'm happy to get proven wrong. If you have issues, feel free to paste videos in my DM, and I will personally look through them, very detailed, and if there's an issue, I am happy to bring it up with the development team. Not to say uh, we're not we're not saying there aren't issues. There are. I mean, Squad is a very big game. It runs on fairly low tick rate, 20 to 30 depending on server, compared to the 160 or whatever madness Counter Strike rules at. But then the game, you also kind of need to realize that you're playing with a lot of people from over the world. You're playing on a specific server. And not a matchmate network. The for example, CS:GO will force you together with like 20 to 30 ping maximum, which is very little. Whereas here there can be as much as 200, 300 milliseconds between a player and the server, and then it goes to another player as well, and that will affect things. And that's just kind of the way Squad will be. So it will never have as good hit rate as Counter Strike. And if you're expecting that, I'm truly sorry to crush your dreams. Maybe when we get supercomputers to the average home in 20 years, but at the point that it's never going to be perfect, but it isn't as widespread problem as people believe. And if you put on the self-criticism glasses, you will see that. And if especially you know that shooting in the arms or lower legs will cause more bullets to kill a person, then you'll see that. That's
And
what I say on that.
yeah, and we are still an early access game. It's entirely possible a bug is in there. It's entirely possible something has changed. Let us know. I mean, that is exactly why we have Discord forums, things like that. Please let us know if you suspect there's a bug. Please, there's a bug report form. Absolutely, let us know. We're happy to take a look. These things do happen. We're obviously going to be continuing to work on this as we get more and more of the last features in. Helicopters being, kind of one of the last big ones. Commander's still up, obviously. Um, and then we're getting more into optimizations of maps, which somebody asked about fog, stuff like that, is trying to revamp the maps to make sure they're performant for things like helicopters, and we're
Yep.
getting the ever increasing march toward 100 players. So yeah, let us know. We're keeping an eye on things. Optimizations are coming. Nordic touched on server tools earlier. We have a list of things that we want to get to after we're done with the major features. So yeah, these are things that we're concerned about. If you're concerned about them, let us know. You know where to find us. We can even email us. As far as the stupid fog, some of the maps might have a different fog depending on the layer. We have been experimenting with different fog technologies, so it's possible you might see that change. But again, keep your feedback coming. That's very important to us. Please don't spam the channel.
I know fog isn't ideal, but unless you want everyone to buy 28 Ti's, it's gonna have to be there right now. I know the mapping team is working extremely hard on optimization, and I'll just go out and said that I've seen Fallujah as late as when I was in Vancouver just 2 weeks ago, and it's really good. That's all I'll say.
Oh
They're
yeah, yeah.
learning as
Fallujah
we
is still
go.
coming. Don't worry. Fallujah is still coming. I mean, you've seen some of the assets and progress on Fallujah a little bit through the release of Mutaha. A lot of the things we've learned along the way on Fallujah also have been applied to newer maps like Mutaha. So, like when you start seeing a little bit more of the urban density and things like that, those are, those some of those buildings are certainly assets that have appeared in the development process for Fallujah. You might have recognized some things like an old familiar T building recently being previewed here and there. People have picked up on that, and we think that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's no shame in admitting the fact that we've learned as the project goes, and that's why you'll see some things that are very old in the game will not be as good as the things that are new in the game. There's new people coming in. There's older people learning new things, and Offworld, having been here from the beginning of Steam release and a very early part of the company, I've seen a lot of it change, and we're learning as we go. And as I said, Squad is gonna have, like you said, Squad is gonna have live ops support. And for those that don't mean what live ops is, that Squad is gonna have support beyond 1.0 from the development team. I would not be surprised. I'm not promising anything because I'm not part of development planning, but I wouldn't be surprised if all the things will get hot up as we go. But you know, we're paying our employees to work 8 hours a day, and that's as much as hours as they have, just like most people have, and things takes time. And yeah, I mean, we've been going into some uh, bumps here and there, and I think anyone developing a project does that. I've developed project in IT a lot of times, and you hit a lot of problems. I wanted to answer someone saying something here. Regarding the hit reg and whatnot, 2GL hit, we have a few cases. Any Q plus E, so lean spamming, bullet dodge hit started coming to fix. I believe that they are looking into removing that one way or the other, whether that is removing the ability to straight out go left and right very fast, or however they do it. I don't know, but yes, that's absolutely on the radar.
Yeah, I can confirm
What
Fuzz has been looking at that recently. I don't have an ETA for a fix yet. Can't say if it'll be in the next patch or later, but yeah, it is something that's definitely on our radar. Again, we don't consider lean spamming like that necessarily the optimal way to play squad. So yeah, it is something that we're concerned about.
Yep. A few patches ago, or actually a couple of years ago now, we had dolphin diving like every other game. I would instant going pro and instant going unpro, and that would be the main solution. And we removed that. It takes some time, it's priorities, but it's coming. And what is the solution except tournament mode for low and ultra settings, draw distance, huge change slash optimization? I don't know if there's ever going to be a solution. I don't know of any game where putting your settings to low does not give you an advantage at some point. And I would be very surprised if there ever is one. I've toyed around with the idea of punishing people playing on low, but then you have people that they're already on low FPS because they have a not so good graphics card. You're going to punish them with the fact that now you get less of an advantage. It's a very hard problem to solve. If you have a good idea of solving that, PME or Gatsby, because we're all ears, and I'm gonna bring it straight to the lead developers and producers and force it down their throat. Because I mean, your guys, I want to solve it as well, but I don't want to axe the ones that doesn't have the last NVIDIA or AMD graphics cards. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone can't buy a new computer every year.
I can elaborate a little bit on that too. It's kind of been our long-term strategy to continue the optimization so we can get to a point where the low-end people are actually hitting performance goals that we have on, to match the Steam requirements, and then to lock some of those settings in place. And you've seen some of that recently with like textures changing, things like that. It is something that we are actually working toward. I believe even some of the foliage problems where we've kind of like hard locked where you can't make them all disappear. So from a development strategy, we're actually approaching that with optimizations and trying to bring the bottom level of performance up so we can lock down without locking anybody out. It is a concern. We hear you about that, and certainly there. We also, working with EAC as a partner where we can verify settings, we can verify things like that to make sure that people aren't going below a certain level. Somebody had brought up reshade again recently. It's something like that where we can look for things and telltale signals to make sure that like people aren't tweaking settings. We can look at config files, crap like that, Yeah, it's something that we do want to do. We want to make sure that there is kind of a fair base level out there for people to compete on, and being both an asset to public play and competitive play. Yeah, like even going back to Quake, people used to run in 320 with no textures on, so they could snipe faster, stuff like that. It's always going to be a problem, but it's one that we want to deal with as best we can. And yeah, we're obviously open to more solutions there too. But it's on the radar. It's something that we want to take care of. It
The solution is simple. We're gonna force everyone to play on Squad on console, and have one graphic setting. That's it.
Somebody is actually curious about Linux servers. Do you have any insight into what's going on there? Is it going to be something that?
Yes, saw that. I just don't understand what's missing because, as far as I know, we have full support now because we have full modding. So if that person, Tony or whatever his name was, can elaborate on what support he's lacking, I'm happy to answer. Because as far as I know, Linux servers are now up and running just fine and have been since Alpha 16, I think.
Sorry, just quickly pulling for more questions.
Yeah, why do we need to reload Sabbath after changing to coaxial? Postscriptum has right-click coax, I believe. Why not implement that? Above my pay grade, I can't answer because you need a programmer, and I am not one of those.
Yeah, I think the answer is it's like it was a technology that's fully developed. Like it's one of these legacy things that we probably need to go back and revisit. And I don't know that it's been scheduled or not. But yeah, it is something that we know about. It is something that people on the team are also championing for. Yeah, it's things like that where just like the ongoing story of development is that we learn more, we grow. It's the same thing with mapping. We get better at maps, we get better at building buildings. It's yeah. So like the VoIP system is another location where we would like to go back and do a lot of revising and trying to eke more performance out of it. And we're looking forward to the beta period for a lot of things like that. So yeah, that is definitely sort of on there. I saw Hayden ask, when are shotguns coming back, boys? I believe you can still find those in the SDK, but we'll leave it at that for now. Do you know anything new about the crashing issue that Karma's been testing, Nordic? I don't know if you've been involved with that yet, the kind of the particle crash.
Yeah, the particle issue. Apparently, at the end screen, there's some sort of particle that gets shown. I don't know what to say, what the English word is. And that crashes the game. They try to fix, and that didn't help. And that's, I believe, where it is right now. It's a very hard one to fix.
Oh yeah, speaking
That's
of,
all I can say.
Patrick Bam, is there any optimizations coming soon regarding anti-cheat stuff? Like 10 people get kicked for random stuff at the start of each round. Yeah, absolutely. That is something we are actively working with EAC on. Morgan, Suicidal Chair, is on top of that every day. We're totally aware that sucks, and there's a constant dialogue back and forth to try to figure out that bug. If you're experiencing it and you notice any commonalities, let us know. I mean, it's another one of those that's just proving hard to track down, but it is something that is under active development. And yeah, we're not forgetting that one. We know it sucks. We want it to go away. We know it sucks for seeding. We know it can kill around. It's not great. Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it's not something we want to release with. We're going to continue to beat the heck out of that.
He just answered. Thanks, Van Thing. We are considering getting a server, prefer to get Linux as their OS because of licensing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just wanted to know if Office is official giving the green light for Linux. Yes. Linux has full server support, not client support. So yes, Linux servers are 100% supported. And if you have any issues, talk to me because I am a very much Penguin nerd myself. So go ahead, get your server, send in your license request.
Yeah, yeah. And Nordo will probably be the one that's reviewing that. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to him and ask him what's an appropriate server. Do you have an ideal server setup right now? Just kind of give people a goal to look for, or something that can they can set their benchmark on.
Yeah, right now if you're looking to only having one server, it's absolutely best to just buying from one of our two partners. It's AVN in North America, and Gamers Host in Europe. AVN is built by squad players, has loose ties to squad ops. I think it's their technical guy. Started his own company, so he knows exactly what he's doing. He's offering both PostScriptum and squad. And Gamers Host is a very old German company. I remember they hosting some of the most popular CS 1.6 servers. They were called Game Hosting by them, for those who might know, remember that. If you're looking into more, maybe you're a clan, you want a public server, you want a training server, you want to host a web server, forums, the TeamSpeak, I don't know, then renting a dedicated server is the best go. And they're looking at a list of approved processes is in the squad hosting Discord and on the wiki, and looking at what fits there. It's generally going to be the high-end enthusiast desktop processors because unfortunately, and I believe we're scheduled to touch this. I'll talk a little bit of it regarding 100 players because I believe there was someone who had a question of that. Right now, to run squad at 80 players or run squad in total, you need a high-end desktop processor, and we're talking everything from 6700K or 7700K from the Intel i7 family to the newest Ryzen Zen 2, so 3900X and such, to even be able to run it. Otherwise, you're gonna dip down below 15 tick rate, and that's where vehicles will start rubber banding, grenades dropping at your feet, etc. So I touched on that before. And for 100 players, we don't know when it's going to happen. The strategy now is to get all the features in the game, and then we'll fix 100 players instead of getting 100 players and then we bring in helicopters and shit. Now our servers are tanking because we brought so much on. Now we have to refix 100 players. So we're going to fix a lot of all the features, and then we're going to do 100 players. And I would like to sit here and promise that we're not going to have desktop high-end nitrogen, liquid nitrogen overclocked CPU requirements ever, forever. But in reality, I just can't. I I mean, I do IT for a living. I know as hard as you guys, how hard it is to find these servers. Oh, fucking fly here, sorry. And I hope it's gonna get down to the regular server lineup, but I can't promise. It's that simple. I'm gonna be totally honest. I know it sucks as much as you do. Everyone in the company does. We're not hiding that fact, but we have to play the cards we have, and we're gonna do the best we can.
And yeah, as I said, we're going to continue to try to optimize and bring those requirements as low as we possibly can. We want as many people playing squad as possible, and the lower we lower the requirements, the easier that becomes, and the more stuff we get to make for squad. So that's kind of where we want to go with that. We have a huge list of things we want to add. There's no shortage of things for like we've been talking about it the whole next year already. So we have some cool stuff in store, and stay tuned for that. But we're not ready to give away all the treats yet. I do want to answer a question about some of the features though. Patrick Bam was also again, do we have a fix for VX at turnover? VX at turnover? Yeah. Fuzzhead is working on a solution for that. We're not ready to kind of reveal it yet, but we do have a fix for vehicles there. As far as turning out, which is another question, we would like to have turning out. Turning out is a little bit more complicated because it is resource intensive because you have to model the inside of the vehicle. It's not currently on the schedule, but it is one of those things that is on the list of things we would love to do, and we're going to kind of try to continue to investigate. We know, being in a vehicle by yourself can be a little bit boring sometimes, and we've seen how cool it is to fly around in a chopper with your friends. So yeah, that is something that we would love to do, but no promises for the time being. But yeah, it is something that we've for years and years and years that's been on the things we would love to have too.
Yep, for sure. And someone said, "Will it be going beyond 100 players?" We're already struggling with 100, mate. But I know if servers can handle it, there's nothing stopping us from going to 120, 150, or 200. But now you're dreaming. Now you're dreaming a lot. That's what I'll say.
We kind of touched on this a lot earlier, and we even went through the discussion of kind of playing competitively. And we mentioned some of our hosts like Barton, who has started to develop ABN out of Squad Ops, and so they have been running tournaments for years. We've recently introduced some kind of official tournaments, which is something new and different for us. Can you kind of talk about where those came from and what they are?
Sorry, say that once again. You cut out there, mate.
Oh yeah, sorry. Can you kind of tell? Like, we have recently instituted official tournaments, and that's something new and different for us. And I'm just kind of curious if you can kind of tell us about how that came about and what they are.
Yep. So I've always been very into. I think I said in the beginning that I wanted to play squad competitive just because of, like I said, the game is 50 times better when you play it with friends. And the competitive scene has had its troubles, mostly caused by itself. I think everyone that's played multiplayer games can testify that the competitive side of games can be very, shall we say, toxic. And so I wanted to try something. And I've been part of a tournament crew, and that didn't work out. And I've seen many tournaments, played them 8, 9 of them. Um, so I wanted to say, okay, well, let me do one official one, and we'll try to do it as best as we can. So instead of forcing it and thinking this is how we should do, we started with a tournament committee. For those who've been around, they probably saw the news about that. So we took random people from all over the world, representing every single region, from the Russian region to Southeast Asia to, or sorry, Asia and Southeast Asia, meaning Australia and New Zealand, and North America, Europe, etc., etc. And we asked questions. Okay, what do you think the format should be? How many players should play? All these sorts of things. So most of the things, maybe 90% of the tournament, was decided purely by democratic voting by these representatives. Because at the end of the day, the tournament is for the community, to try to steer clear. Um, and that's, but we also realized that everyone can't play 36 versus 36, which we're having. So we were also playing with around with small concepts tournaments, which is something I just wanted to try. And this was Track Attack, which was just a 1 day tank tournament, ran for about 3.5 hours. And we did very little. I said, cool, we're going to run a tank tournament. I invented some of the most basic rules, and we took 8 signups with up to 3 people in all teams. And we spawned in tanks on each side, and we said, you have 15 minutes to smack each other. And it was a huge success. It was a lot of fun. I costed out with ADZ Vaughn and had a lot of fun, and everyone liked it. And I think LX won that. And that's something we've definitely been looking into continuing. We're already working on Track Attack 2. We took some feedback. The most common feedback was that we wanted more than one vehicle in the game, so we'll kind of maybe spin it up to 2, 3, 4, make bigger teams. Um, and in terms of official proper squad, so to speak, vanilla squad tournament, we also wanted to say, okay, this is how we think a tournament should be run, purely on based on what the community think, and try to give a small baseline by the community that this is a standard of how squad tournaments should be run. That doesn't mean you can't mod it or run smaller scale or whatever, but it's in terms of the rule set and like the what can you do in tournaments, not allowing bugs and whatnot. We kind of want to streamline that, and also kind of see, it's good marketing material. We've already got a lot of cool things where a lot of teams drop with helis and whatnot. So it benefits everyone. Um, so that's why I push for that, and regardless of popular opinion, both Greg or Gatsby and Ross, Sergeant Ross, former game designer now in charge of the community experience team and tons of fun, our marketing dude, are much in favor for a competitive squad, and it's something we want to try and explore, and organized in general. I'm sure we're gonna start. I have already spun on other things that is not competitive per se, but Squad Ups has their one life thing. Maybe you can spin that on some way. Just organizing events for the community to make them play more.
Next kind of segues well into a question from Insomniac. He wants to know, or they want to know, are there any mods or mod maps that you're excited for? Which ones would you love to see back in Squad? Which factions are you interested in seeing Squad? And to add my own spin on that, would you ever use any of these mods in an official tournament? Are you considering any for competitive play?
Mods for competitive play is a yes. Just purely on maps. We already fuck this fly. We wanted to bring modded maps into this tournament, but we realized that between patches and whatnot, mods may break, and we are dependent on the modder guy updating it. But I'd love to bring a well-made factions. We have the Canadian is actually an official faction in terms of that we made it a DLC, but I know the French faction is being made. I would love to see that in an official tournament once it's flushed out, and other modifications. But off-world tournaments, at least like the vanilla ones, will stay pretty vanilla, so we won't go too far off the main game and changing the base gameplay. But other than that, new vehicles. Let's say you add the Chinook. Why not? I would love to have that. In terms of mods that I am excited for, probably some. I don't know if it's in make, but I would really like to see African fighting. African rebels, based in a traditional African jungle thing. Uh, who wouldn't love to see Vietnam War made in Squad? We've seen World War II in Postscriptum. I would personally love to see Vietnam in that, and World War One would be cool. And then I've always had this kind of like idea of maybe turning like trying to replicate real battles. But we'll see if that's a thing. Maybe the Battle of Fallujah will be replicated. And not to mention Squad Battle Royale. It's coming, boys, and it's happening. I actually don't know if it's still happening, but I hope it is, because that would be fun. Oh, there's a lot of people tagging me here. Let's see if there's something I need to respond to. Heli ramming is a keeper. Is it being patched? It's being patched. 100%. That's not the intended gameplay. Someone is remaking Ramiel. I don't know what Ramiel is. I did not play a lot of PR. So yeah, they're making the Bush War and South American border war. I saw in the Discord. Jesus, that would
Yeah,
be
there is
fantastic.
South Africa cores, and those were looking really good. There's the Finnish mod. There is of course, the Aussie
Oh yeah.
mod. Yeah, like there is, of course, Cap is in. Yeah, we've seen I think even saw a German mod starting up. So there are team. If you can imagine a faction out there, there is probably a mod team that has started working on it, and certainly they're usually welcome to get involved, give feedback, keep an eye on the wrench. We try to keep an eye on those mods too. We try to make sure that they get a little
Yep.
light shine on them. So yeah, like if you have a faction out there somebody's running, we're certainly open to feedback too. We have a couple factions we have not announced, so keep an eye out for those. Somebody did ask about that too. Fallujah is still coming. Fallujah is not quite ready yet, but it should be soon. We're not looking too far. I also wanted to touch on whitelisting, which for anybody not familiar with whitelisting, this is going to be a way for people to run mods on an officially licensed server. Um, the technology side of that is pretty much all ready to go. We've been testing it, making sure it's ready to go last time after the last modding event. There were a couple hiccups, as I'm sure a couple of you remember were there for. We've done a lot of improvements to then. We're kind of getting the policy side in place, the process kind of stuff, so keep an eye out for that. Certainly, we've whitelisted a couple cool mods like the past. We talked about Troopers, we've talked about Space Crew, we've talked about Squad Z, helicopter mod at that time. Wanda's done some wonderful maps. So like yeah, there's more coming from that front too. We're going to make sure that mods are getting a little bit better support. That was actually another roundtable we had recently to kind of get an idea of what modders need and what they're looking for. So again, if you have feedback there, let us know. Feedback again too, if you have a tournament idea, if you have an idea where you want to have perhaps a helicopter tournament and have plans for that, let us know.
Good idea. Yep. I see a lot of tags here, and I'm gonna try to answer some questions here. Ramiel Blackhawk down. Okay, that's gonna be cool. Any chance of OPFL coming back into the official maps? Not that I know of. I've heard rumors of that releasing to the modding team or whatever, making it. And I know there's I think it's ProMod that's making an extended version of OPFL. I'm not sure if they're extending the size or if they're just adding more things to it. Um, but check that out. Um, in terms of Commander, how is that going to the next major patch, or will it be attack helicopters first? As far as I know, attack helicopters has never been confirmed. I don't know if they're coming to squad or not. Um,
But Commander is on the
and
way. Yeah, Commander is kind of our next
yeah,
big goal. A17 will probably be really focused around that. We've talked a little bit about features here and there. I've actually been authoring the patch notes and getting the next patch note video ready, so you'll be hearing a little bit more about that soon. Obviously, testing will be a thing. We do like to do public testing. We've been doing ongoing public testing for the particle crash too. So, if you're interested in that, pay attention. We'll be announcing when that happens. Look for your squad UAT client, the squad public testing client. It is a separate install, so it will take up the same amount of drive space, but we will be running more public testing through that. It's going to be kind of cool. We've seen some of the features. I've seen Ren's work on the UI. It's coming along quite nicely.
Yep. Um, Definitely. I saw some of the commander yesterday, and it's looking really, really cool. I'm happy to see it being fleshed out and all the pieces of the puzzle coming together. I'm sort of sad this didn't happen earlier when I could no life squad, but now I have a 2-year-old stepdaughter and a girlfriend, and for some reason they want to hang out with me. They have yet not realized that that is a bad idea, but I'm sure that will come, and then I will play. And to touch on that, there was some pre-questions whether I still play competitive. I don't. Purely one is a time thing. I've been working a lot once we had the projects in Offworld that I worked that I mentioned previously. Plus the fact that I'm now the sole tournament manager of the official tournaments, and I think it's poor taste for me, given that I have absolute authority to be playing in a team. That's always been a bit controversial. Maybe in the future I'll play if we somehow either someone else takes over or we somehow flesh out rules in a way that decisions doesn't matter because they follow a rule. But as long as there has to be someone stepping in and making calls, I will not be playing tournaments for at least off-world tournaments, just because I don't want to be accused of favoring some side. I want it to be as fair as possible and no questions there. What do you see as some of the biggest problems of the gameplay currently? Getting players getting teamwork in pub games. A lot unfortunately lock themselves in and don't really care, don't try to work together as much, which makes overall experience worse. And the huge stepping stone to learning squad. It was hard back when there was no vehicles and you would run to flags, and the flag mechanics were very simple. It's a hell of a lot harder today. And then there were some pre-questions of which emplacements are the most usual when it comes to competitive and why. I'm just kind of going on here, Greg. You have to interrupt me if I'm overstepping. Um, and that would be mortars, purely because you can use them on smaller maps. You can do something that I don't know if they invented it. My guys would call it creeping mortars. But if we would have the infantry line here, they would mortar here consistently, and they would move it out as the infantry moved forward. It was very cool and very effective. Mortars being effective purely because of the screen shake, which makes it very hard to aim. The fact that you die if you get them on you, and then smoke mortars, I think it's extremely underused. It's very situational, but when you need it, it's very good. I've crossed a lot of open fields when I've called in more smoke mortars. Um, and that unfortunately emplacements are tied to the radio right now. I don't know if it's staying like that. I'm just saying, which makes it kind of hard to build them and all. But now with I think radio's not costing as much tickets. It can be worth to set up a 50 with the scope on them for far away. We'll see how that comes. And my favorite strategy that I often use during competitions, that would be something that I think another team called the double mumble, which would be in AAS where you usually go to the middle flag or something. We would usually set up one fob on, say, the eastern side and the another one on the western side, and we would spawn in both directions and kind of do a pincer move. And that started to be called a double mumble after Mumble Reigns, my own team. That would be my favorite, and that I really hope and really wish combined warfare with infantry and everything becomes very, very, very viable. That's something I really like to see. I've experienced a lot of that with my team, and they're very upset sometimes when I call in my vehicle crew to die. Maybe that's why they don't want to. I don't play anymore. Who knows? And if I'm ever coming back to competitive play and play pubs, yes, absolutely, it's just a time thing right now. And competitive, I hope so. We'll see how it works out with both time and the fact if someone else can take over the role I currently have, or if we get a stable enough rule set or whatever that you can have tournament managers that's also an employee for Offworld playing. Uh, I don't know. We'll see. If it's ever possible, absolutely. I miss it a lot, but at the end of the day, I think I wanna help the community, the competitive side, and if I can't play, then that's worth it. It's that simple.
Oh,
Yeah,
do you
I
want to?
totally
There's. Oh,
missed all the
sorry.
questions while I was
Yeah,
talking.
I've got a couple there that I can answer. people are curious about the commander timeline. We're not ready to talk about that yet. You'll obviously have a little bit better idea when public testing rolls out. That's going to help determine the timeline too. If we need you guys to bash on bugs occasionally, so that'll be a better indication of that. We're not ready to talk too much about some of the features. Like I said, that's coming up. I will say for people that are concerned about blueberries picking the role, you will have to be elected as a commander. There is some control for you guys to actually have a way of choosing commanders. We don't want that role to be just picked up by whoever gets there first. So yeah. Don't worry about that. There's going to be some control over that. You're not just going to have the random person jumping in and hogging commander call downs. We don't want that to be the case. Skirmish layers. Yeah, it's certainly possible. More skirmish layers. And another thing we're trying to do is actually publish what layers are changing more in patch notes. That's something that the server administrators have requested and something that Fuzz can do. So yeah, we're looking at more layers. We're always doing more. Fuzz is always tweaking layers. Fortunately, he is only one human, so we can only have so much out of him at a time. Yeah, so that is something.
Whitelisting mods comes in there. Whitelisting mods and being able to add other layer packs.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that's come up too. If you have a bunch of layers or you're working in isolation as a modder just doing maps or a single weapon, it is worth it to get in touch with other people. So if you wanted to create like a revised weapon pack or a revised M16 line from the Vietnam era, there's a long history of weapons there, but weapon packs are something we're open to, and that could be a cool way of also kind of adding a little bit of customization to your servers and tournaments for that matter. Speaking of customizations, thinking about future factions, Syntrax is curious. Is there a drive to make sure factions are realistic or inspired by real-world entities, or is it possible for fictional countries or coalitions, such as the Middle Eastern Coalition from Battlefield 2? Obviously, we're open to kind of fictional coalitions. Insurgents are sort of are roughly based across a lot of factions across the world. We try to simulate the weapons and equipment accurately, more so than just like a nation or individual countries. It's something that like we're inspired by a period of modern combat, and we want to represent that. So we can look into those options. We can absolutely look at modding packs like that, such as the Canadian Armed Forces. That was something that came out of the community, and we were able to bring it to Squad as DLC. Somebody actually asked about that. Are we going to be updating that? Yeah, the Canadian Armed Forces team is actually actively working on that. We're working with them to work out better QA strategies. Those are things that we want to do to make sure that those maps are getting into more rotations. We know a lot of you like the equipment that came with the Canadians, and we want to make sure you're actually seeing more of that. So yeah, look for updates there. That's kind of one of the benefits of the way it was released is it allows the Canadian Armed Forces team to continue to update and deploy on their own. We're looking at ways of making sure we kind of do that with patches and stuff too, so there's a little bit more of an organized release. But yeah, it's something that we're looking at. And yeah, like I said, it's something that we want to have that diversity and options in there for you guys. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep, for sure. And there was some pre-question about AI in the game, and how good they will be, and what about civilians living in the war zone? AI not short of training, as far as I know, there will probably. I haven't heard a lot about bots, so I can't answer how good they will be. And civilians, I don't know. That's always been a thing for insurgency, and I don't know if that's planned. Do you?
I know we have the civilian kit in there. I don't know if there are any official plans we can talk about for it yet. As far as AI, it is something that we've only really kind of been experimenting with since about the last PAX East. I don't know if you guys had a opportunity to be there or check out the PAX East demo from there, but that was actually literally the first time we had automated turrets and some soldiers in there kind of discussing what's going on. Which is really cool because you've seen how that's evolved in both the infantry tutorial and the helicopter tutorial. That's rapidly evolving technology and stuff we want to continue to work with. But I think some of the cooler stuff right now is actually going on with both Troopers and Squad Z, where they are working with AI enemies that are attacking you and swarming you and working with different abilities. So we're really excited about what modders are doing on that front. I don't know that we're ever going to have that sort of robust AI system where you're doing more than just shooting ducks in the training range. But the potential is there. The framework is there. It's stuff we're working on. It's something that people can build off of. So again, we're really kind of excited to see what you guys can do with that as much as us. And we're always open to incorporating community work into the game, and that's something that we can certainly do. And like people can be fairly compensated for that. We want to recognize that modders are an important part of the world, especially having come from modding communities ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Modding is, even though we're not there yet, modding is a big part. I mean, Koken, Basra, both modding before Chansbrook came on. The Russian ammo crate is made by a modder. It has been, I think it came in like version 6, version 7. Um, because Russians, and I love them dearly, can be very upset when you don't make their faction right. And there's, I mean, Axton was a modder. He's now, I don't even know what his title is. I call him Wonder Kid. It
He
works.
might be a technical something, a technical artist maybe,
He's
but
yeah, he's technical something. To me, he'll always be Wonder Kid, even when he's 30 years old. I mean, he looks 30, but he's like 19. Um, yeah. So what I'm saying, modding is important. I mean, we're literally hired modders. Sino is another guy. He made Scorpio. So we have plenty of modders on the team. Asi is a modder. He's now something
yeah, Rotspa
artist
came to
something.
us through the modding
Rots.
community, and he's
Yep.
redesigned our website. He's been kind of an all jack of all trades and instrumental to that. So yeah,
Yep.
that's the core to who we are, and we want to continue to support that. Vulcan support, I've heard Vulcan support is coming along. It's not something we're actively chasing right now, Tony, but we've heard reports from a lot of people that it is, especially since EAC has improved their Linux support. So that's something that you might be able to continue to look at. Nordic, they want you to pop the collar, big guy. You need to get that going.
What? Oh, pop it. Oh shit. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Yeah, yeah, I can do this. I actually like that. That's something. I think I got a question about. Do I always wear shirts or whatever it is? I actually do not own any sweatpants. The only thing close to sweatpants I have is a pair of shorts. Okay, this was way too much.
They
Uh,
say pink
uh,
across the back, but that's normal, right?
yeah, exactly. A pair of like training shorts. Other than that, I wear jeans all the day, full jeans. Mostly skinny ones or tight fitting ones, or skinny fit or slim fit. And I mostly have button shirts. People is like, oh, that feels awful. I'm like, t-shirts are awful. That's why I have a lot of V-necks. Like, uh, if I have a shirt like you, which closes up here, I feel like I don't know. It feels like I'm suffocating, kind of thing. I don't know. My brain is very weird. But yeah, that's why I kind of live in button down shirts. So I have the ones I'll have in public, and then I have some really bad ones that I don't have in public. But yeah, I kind of always have shirts or very button down t-shirts. So basically like this.
Yeah, you are known for your fishnet T-shirts, but that's
Yes.
totally fine. If it makes you feel better, I am also wearing a V-neck T-shirt under that. But to kind of pull it back to squad real quick, Connor wants to know: will mods that rebalance game features and roll back gameplay changes from the devs be whitelisted or not?
Oh yeah, color.
Yeah, I don't think we have any problem doing that. Like, if you guys want to play a certain way and the mod rises to that level of quality, and like, I can't say that pro mod will be whitelisted. I'm not sure. We've not really evaluated it yet, but I would say that something like that is a good candidate. We're pretty excited about what they're doing with spectator mode. We're pretty excited about what they're doing with their rule sets. So, yeah, that's something that's totally up for discussion. We should have a little bit more clarity on that when we publish like how we go through whitelisting rules. Some of it's unfortunately still going to be we know it when we see it when something rises to the quality of that. But yeah, like we're totally fine with total conversions. If you guys are in
Yep.
squad and want to play that way, we want to enable you to play that way.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the bottom line there. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. I mean, I'm happy to play full conversion mods, and at the end of the day, I know there's been controversy in saying how I want a casual game and whatnot, and the whole QA pushing game design controversy. But at the end of the game, if I was to design squad, I would do it with Ross, and you wouldn't have a minimap with icons on it. You wouldn't have a mag indicator, and it would be one bullet pretty much anywhere it kills you, and you wouldn't have any friendly indicator or anything. You wouldn't have markers on the map. It would be extreme hardcore mode, because that's what I think is challenging. But I also realized that that would not earn a lot of players, because I don't think a lot of people wants to play that. But I've checked out the Squad Ops mod does this, and that's absolutely fantastic. I'd love to play it like that. So you know, full conversions mods. I'm hoping it. I'm really hoping for a hardcore mode, and I'm hoping that once Ross stops being a daddy, or Doesn't have to spend all his time watching his kid not ruining shit like kids does. And now I can speak from experience, in terms of ruining the apartment, not ruining your life. Calm down, parents. Um, I hope that someday he works on it, or another mother does, because I'd really love to play that. Just pretty much squad right now, but with way more hardcore. That would be fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's certainly like some of my fondest memories are playing with no name tags on like Eve of Destruction in Battlefield 1942, where literally the enemy could be inside the same bush as you and you had no idea and you were dead in a second. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, no, it adds stakes up. But yeah, if you want to play squad in a certain way and you have enough people that are supporting a mod community, work with server owners, talk to them, like get involved, get your mod out there, and it's certainly something that we're open to. So like let us know, like let us know in the ranch, let us know what's
yeah,
cool. Um, we're open to that. Certainly, it helps me find cool stuff to play too. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
yeah.
Are there any plans to update the old medic system? Probably not before launch. It is something that has been on our agenda to look at. Tweaks can certainly be coming. Yeah, no, it's been on our list of things to look at. I don't really have a timeline for it. It's certainly something that we hear you. We have we've long wanted a couple features too. Like we did motion capture for dragging ages ago, stuff like that. Those are options that we can continue to look at too. So yeah, like we're like I said, we have plans to support Squad as a live ops as long as people are playing, and those are good contenders to kind of revise as we go along.
Yep. And we really hope that modding will be a part when you can take a break from squad, but you'll still be playing squad, so you won't be playing vanilla squad, but you can do the full conversion Mario Kart mod. And I absolutely think everyone should download the mod. It's extremely small and it's Rainbow Road and it's fun. Yeah. And I hope there will be a lot of a very big modding community. I mean, look at Arma. It's crazy what people can do with that stuff. And I mean, we're literally building support from it and for it into the game, and I think that's going to be fantastic.
Spike, don't really have an answer for you on ranging yet. It is a feature that we've talked about, and there might be some opportunity to use that in some other ways. We don't want it to be exploited the way it was. That obviously kind of sucked. We haven't forgotten about it. Stay tuned. Update on track hire support? Nothing yet. Obviously we're continuing to look at helicopter controls and things like that. We would love to see HOTAS and track hire support in there someday. That would be awesome. I think most of us would enjoy that. Certainly the people on our team that regularly play DC, the flight sims. We have people that fly in formation for fun as a hobby. So yeah, those folks are definitely into that and want to see that. Sound passes. Yeah, Anders is actually going through some sounds and optimizing them and stuff. Sound passes are always sort of possible. I don't know if he's explicitly going to look at any certain platform. I just haven't looked at his technical debt lately. I don't know what he's doing, but those things are certainly possible. He's an enthusiastic and awesome sound developer, so we're going to kind of continue to use as much of his talent as we possibly can for forever.
I've gone through so many M4 and so many AK sounds that I don't even remember them all.
No, it's true. Yeah, we've been through so many revisions of that it's kind of a good example of things that we're always looking for ways to do it a little bit better or a little bit more true to life. And in some cases, we've had
Yep.
discrepancies that were really cool, where people were expected a louder boom, but because of the way combat actually works, it wasn't that way. So that's insight from our community developers and things, our military advisors, which you've actually served on active duty yourself and have been key in a lot of those decisions too. So yeah, so one last thing, buddy rally. We have plans for that
Oof.
too. It is something that we want helicopters to get a little bit more firmed up first. We have a survey coming about how you folks feel about helicopters, but we are looking at that. That is something that Fuzzhead is on too. There should be changes in store. We know you guys are not satisfied with the way it's working. And yeah, like it was never really intended to be the end all be all of the system, especially in light of helicopters coming to squad. So yeah, be on
I,
the lookout
I
for that.
can I can mention it, considering I'll go out and said that I was one of the per people that advocated for Buddy Rally and sort of came up with some parts of the idea. It's been floating around before, and the main thing was that because public play and purely public play for the average player often turned into roles as in stomps, because generally people put up one fob, and once they lost that, they would have to start over main, and there were vehicles abandoned everywhere, and uh, sometimes you wouldn't even have a logi, so you couldn't even make a fob, and the game was over in the first 15 minutes. It would take 40 minutes to finish, but it was over in 15 minutes because there was no chance for the other team to come back. Strategies like guarding the logi, so they couldn't recover it, started to become thing and whatnot. And that's all fun and games in competitive because you suit yourself, but in public games, it started kind of ruin it. So I and another couple of guys, I won't name drop them, they will have to speak for themselves. But I advocated for Buddy Rally purely because it gave people a way to come back into the action. Because squad is fun when you get to shoot people, not so much when you get to run from main base from 10 minutes, then get knocked out, and then you repeat. Uh, it was never it has never been a permanent thing, and I'm not sure whether it will or not because I don't decide over game design. But yeah, I mean, we know it's controversial, and it's going to change at some point. Whether it gets completely removed or not, I don't know. But try to see it for what it was intended for. I'm fully aware it makes competitive, or the experienced players can abuse it and whatnot. But you gotta look at the other side of the coin as well, and it helps the new guys that might get rolled by the older guys. And overall, I am steadily steadfast in my opinion that it did give better matches because it did not give as many stomps. Even if it started made some cheesy stuff like suddenly teleporting across the map with just rallies and whatnot. I totally buy that, but yeah, that's what I say.
Yep. No,
No,
no, for sure.
buildings will
It's
not be destroyable in the future, as far as I know.
yeah. So yeah,
Destruction
changes
is
are indeed
unread.
coming to Buddy Rally. So keep your eyes peeled for those. It is a thing that like we have it as a tool now, so it can be fitted into other areas. It might be fun for different modes to have that, as opposed to being a mechanic in every mode. It's a feature in the toolbox now. It doesn't necessarily have to stay as it is. It's going to be changing. So like if you have ideas for ways that you might want to use that sort of mechanic, let us hear about those too. Can't guarantee they'll get used that way, but we're totally curious. And with that, we've run about 20 minutes over, so I'm gonna
Oh shit.
say, yeah, no, Nordic is about 7 hours ahead of me, so we do want to let him get back to his life since he is Papa Nordic now. So yeah, just a huge thank you to Nordic for kind of coming and talking about everything squad today. I know people were a little worried about SysAdministrator, but I think we covered a pretty wide range of topics. I do
Yeah, I
want
think
to
so too.
another shout out to all the people. We talked a lot about mods today. All of those people should be awesome and get out there, talk to those people. I want to add another shout out to the casters like Emotive Meerkat and ads in there that have been key in getting OSIC or offered official squad tournament off the ground championship. Our official tournaments off the ground. These people are awesome. They are community streamers that have stepped up to really make these things a success. We really appreciate you folks. We appreciate everyone that joined us today, and we're going to leave you with the sales pitch to head up to the OWI store, get yourself a dancing infidel shirt, get a color changing mug, tell your friends that you worship an untextured spear in the game you play. See how they respond to that. Hail Spear, thank you for coming. Everybody, take care. We will see you next time.
Bye bye.